Who's actually going to get the most out of a 7-ton portable lift, and who's better off keeping their car on the floor? If you're wondering whether the Real Relax 7,000-pound car jack is worth the price for a typical DIY garage, you're not alone. A lot of people hesitate because they've seen cheap floor jacks that wobble, or massive hydraulic lifts that lock you into a permanent workshop. The fear of buying something that either can't handle a mid-size SUV or that takes up half the garage is real, and the cost can feel steep if you only need to change a tire once a year. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, so you can see the exact specs before you decide. Let's start with the kind of situation where this lift actually shines. Imagine you run a small home-based auto restoration shop, or you're a weekend mechanic who likes to work on a variety of vehicles from a compact sedan to a light truck pickup. You need a lift that can raise the chassis high enough to get under the oil pan, swap suspension components, or drop in new brake rotors, without having to crawl under a flimsy jack stand. The Real Relax 7000 offers a maximum lift height of 26.8 inches, which is enough clearance for most undercar work while still keeping the overall footprint manageable. The 4 adjustable columns let you level the platform on uneven concrete, a common issue in older garages, and the integrated safety locks hold the vehicle steady once it's up. Now, who should probably walk away? If you're a casual driver who only changes a tire or does an oil change once a year, the investment might not make sense. A traditional floor jack paired with jack stands can do the job for a fraction of the cost, and you won't have to worry about storing a 4-post lift that, even with its wheels, still occupies a sizable chunk of floor space. Also, if you have a very low ceiling, say, a 1-car garage with a ceiling height under 8 feet, the 26.8-inch lift height could bring the top of the vehicle uncomfortably close to the roof, limiting headroom for you to work. Let's break down the practical strengths. First, the lift's load capacity of 7,000 pounds means you can safely raise most passenger cars, SUVs, and even some light trucks without flirting with the limit. That's a real advantage over many consumer-grade lifts that cap out at 4,000 or 5,000 pounds, forcing you to double-check the weight of a heavier vehicle before you even think about lifting it. Second, the construction uses high-grade Q235B carbon steel, which is a step up from the thin-walled steel you see in budget models. In real-world terms, that translates to less flex when you're loading the lift with a fully stocked SUV, and a lower chance of the frame warping after repeated use. Mobility is another point worth noting. The lift sits on 4 nylon wheels that roll smoothly on concrete and even a bit of garage floor paint without leaving marks. Because the wheels lock, you can move the unit to the side when you're not using it, then roll it back into position when a project comes up. This is especially handy if you share the garage with a spouse who needs space for a bike rack or a workbench. The lift's power unit runs on standard 120-volt AC, meaning you won't have to hunt for a special outlet or deal with a noisy diesel engine. Plug it into any ordinary wall socket, and the motor does the heavy lifting for you, which is a relief compared with manual screw-type jacks that can take a solid arm workout just to get the first inch. On the flip side, there are some practical weaknesses you'll notice once the lift is in your shop. The biggest trade-off comes from the very thing that makes it portable. The compact frame and wheelbase limit the overall stability compared with a fixed, bolted-down lift. While the safety locks are a solid safety feature, you still need to be vigilant about the ground surface. Uneven or soft concrete can cause the lift to wobble, and the nylon wheels, though gentle on floors, don't have the same grip as rubberized or steel-capped wheels on a sloped surface. In a nutshell, you'll want to make sure the garage floor is level and solid before you trust the lift with a heavy truck. Another consideration is the setup time. Unpacking the lift, extending the 4 columns, and aligning the plates takes a few minutes, especially the first time you do it. If you're used to slamming a floor jack under a car and tightening a couple of pins, this process may feel slower. However, once you've learned the sequence, the motorized lift actually saves time on the actual raise and lower cycles, which can be a real productivity boost if you're doing multiple jobs in a day. Noise is something a few owners have mentioned anecdotally with similar electric lifts. The Real Relax motor isn't silent, you'll hear a hum and a slight whine when it's